Hi there, I'm Chris Venn, and I want to talk to you about the Extreme Makeover Coach Practice Edition. Extreme Makeover is there's a TV show about it, and there's different versions of it and so on. But one of the things that I realize is that in business, there's actually some extreme makeovers that are required, and when they happen, big changes can happen for the people who participate in it. And one of the areas that I'm really interested in is the world of coaching. And so about this time last year, I sat down with a couple of coaches and took them through a weekend. It was 3 days. It was very, very intensive. It was long hours. And we worked with them to remake their coaching practice. These were both extremely well-trained coaches. So they had been through certification in 2 different disciplines. They had experience for a few years in the field. They both came from solid business backgrounds before. And so both of these people are passionate. They are skilled. They have the drive to do it, and their businesses weren't going where they wanted it to go from a performance perspective. They weren't generating the kind of income that they wanted to. Despite the incredible capacity and desire to support and serve their clients. And so we spent a weekend together and did an extreme makeover. So we said, all right, let's look at the entire practice and say what are the things that we want to make over, and we made them over pretty much in real time. So here's what it looked like. First we started with a bunch of perceptions about business in general. And because somebody's been in business before doesn't mean that they necessarily have been an entrepreneur before. Or because someone has been entrepreneurial before doesn't necessarily mean that they've got the equation broken down for how to make it work in this space. And so we really wanted to kind of break those pieces down and say, how do we put that together? And so we did that. We started with some assumptions, and it was amazing because immediately there were some huge assumptions that were at play that were getting in the way of their business. And so we flipped the assumptions right upside down and looked at them in a completely different way. And suddenly there was a recognition that there's a different way to look at things. So this was kind of exciting. So looking at some key assumptions was key. We also looked at the context of what is an economy, and why don't you create your own? Instead of just being governed by the macro economy. And yes, there's a macro economy and a country economy or regional economy. Like we're subject to all of those. However, we still have the choice to influence the things that we want to influence. And so we looked at what is an economy and what controls do I have over my economy, the inputs, the exports out of it, and creating exchange with other people. We had a long conversation about exchange in general. How do I be in good exchange with people? Should I give things away for free or not? I am not a big fan of giving things away for free because nature requires that all systems have to be in exchange all the time. And so I don't want to give something away for free because I don't want to marginalize the value. So we had a great conversation about how do we deal with, we want to give a sample session. There are different ways and times to do that. We looked at what exchange is. We talked about money and what money is and how does it actually work, and how do I make sure that it's working, that I'm working the same way that it does. So we looked at a bunch of contextual pieces first, and then we got into the guts of it. And at the guts of it is this: business is like a combination lock. And the question is, if you don't know the combination to a combination lock, there's only one way that you can open it. And that one way is called chance. And in business, it's called slim chance. However, once you've got the combination down, you can open that lock as many times as you want to, over and over and over again. So there's a bit of a combination lock at play here. So we looked at some of those keys. We looked at personal brand. And so we identified the personal brands of the 2 individuals who were doing this. So detailed interviews, we boil it down to a single statement as to what is the brand of that individual. Then we looked at their niche market. We ripped apart their book of business, people that they've worked with before, who they want to work with as well. And we identified a niche market. Well, once we knew who they were and knew who they wanted to talk to, then we could look at what is some of the messaging that would connect that. That was really, really powerful stuff. So that was the first thing. The next was we went to sales skills, and people talk about business development or enrollment or so on, and that's because people hedge around sales. And so we had a very, very clear and direct conversation about sales. Then we got right into some skills-based pieces on sales. How do you sell? What is a closing signal? How do I position my value? How do I handle an objection? And it was tough stuff because we only had a few days. This is an extreme makeover, not a gradual makeover. So we went hard on it. There were tears in the room. and because there were breakthroughs that were happening, and it was exciting. But what happened is there's a level of confidence that comes out after the fact that was just tremendous. We looked at what our time is worth and how to value it. How do you put that cost together so you know what an hour of your time is worth? Then we looked at how do you bill for your time, because what you may value your time at, it's not necessarily what the market can bear. So how do we work with that? How do we make great use of our time? We looked at what do our proposals look like. We looked at dress and deportment based on our market, who we are, who we want to talk to. How do we look? Then we talked about what are the marketing medias and channels that could be used to actually market for those individuals. So it was right around the entire business. How do we do that? We even looked at financial controls, how you propose things, how you're going to deal with the financial tracking side of it. So invoicing it, collections, receiving that money, allocating that, getting that into an accounting package, making sure you're reporting taxes. We looked at the whole thing. Here was what was exciting. In that weekend, both of those people had dramatic jumps in confidence, in clarity, and in the results right after the fact. One person who I have some data on, in her instance, first of all, in a roundabout way, I knew other people that she knew, and I started hearing about this person. I was like, this person's really changed the last while. It's like, oh, really? How's that? And so we're starting to see that this person was carrying these things that she had learned into other parts of her life and really had stepped into it. But the most exciting part was that this person had been a coach for 3 years. And in the 60 days after the Extreme Makeover, she wrote more business with clients in those 60 days than she had in the 3 years prior. And so we were thrilled with that. So this works. When we're clear on our brand, when we know who to talk to and what to say, when we know how to handle an objection, when we know what a closing signal is and what to do with it, when we know how to propose our work, when we are standing in absolute authenticity and creating trust with our clients, the results are dramatically different. So Extreme Makeover is for the Coach Practice Edition is something that's near and dear to my heart, something I'm excited about, and something I definitely like to talk more about creating together.